Here's a trick that's usually done with a salt shaker. And if you know the classic trick involving a table and a salt shaker, then this will not deceive you. But I want you to realize if you don't know that trick, this would definitely fool you. Now, having said all that, I'm going to warn you, please be careful. People have seen this in movies, they've seen stunt people try this, and it can really hurt you. We've all seen someone grab a can and smash it against their head at a party, and I swear, I think I've seen it actually live maybe 4 times, and at least half the time the guy got a scratch on his head. So I tried it once, and I got a freaking cut my finger from the top of this. So if you're gonna try to smash down a Coke can, my advice to you is at least be smart enough to have a sheet of newspaper, okay? You have a sheet of newspaper, that way you can at least cover the edges, okay? And now that maybe the bottom could hurt you, but other than that, you're now completely covered. You're not gonna get hurt. The one other thing you might wanna consider too is rather than taking the can and smashing your head against it, which doesn't leave any sense of mystery, is to take your empty hand, put it under the table, and then actually try to jam the Coke can through the table, which of course, when it comes out the other side, it still ends up nicely crunched. First thing to do is, of course, secretly, on the sly, is crunch Coke can down. So I'm gonna crunch it. And be careful, my friends, I'm gonna crunch the middle a little bit, and then start to put these two together and squeeze it down. You gotta be careful. And again, if you're a very young person, say 3 months old, seriously, get off the booze for starters. But you gotta crunch them down and be careful of the edges, okay? So we get this nice and flat like that, okay? This I'm gonna place, I'm either gonna pinch this between my knees. I want my lap area to be uncluttered, an uncluttered lap. It's sort of a weird throwback to the Boy Scouts and a very upsetting looking badge. Having said this, I'm going to pinch this between just the very ends of my knees. I'm pinching it, or I can have it, I'm sitting in kind of a scoop chair, super easy for this. I can just put it off to one side between the edge of the chair and my hip, okay? I'm here. So what's the misdirection? And this is the classic salt shaker through the table. And you never say, hey, I'm going to show you a trick involving a salt shaker, I'm going to slam it through the table. They get ahead of you, it's no good. And you're even though you've increased the odds of getting caught on the trick, you also undercut the drama. So in 2 ways it doesn't work. Same with here. You start by saying, hey, you're at a party. What a great stunt to say, the idea of I'm going to take a Coke can, I'm going to try. I don't know if you've seen those guys. Would you like to see me try to slam it against my head here? And people go, well, yeah, please. And I always say, well, actually, look, if you're going to try it, I'm going to tell you right now, I once did, I cut my hand right here on this damn thing here, like this. I also saw them do it, and they cut the top of their head. So if you're going to try to do it, at least cover it with a newspaper. Perfect motivation. You got a sheet of newspaper, perfect way, and the justification makes perfect sense. You're trying to protect your palm and your head. So you cover it. Now, you'll notice with a sheet of newspaper, take your hands, you really get the shape of the can. Really take a moment, okay, like that. They're just thinking you're being very careful not to get hurt, okay? And you can show it. Now, I'm deliberately leaning forward a little bit when I do it, but what that does is it allows me then, the most natural thing after I lean forward and show this, is to relax. So I go, I press down, I show them the can, and I relax for a beat. Now this is the image you need to remember when studying this trick, is I lean forward, because if I was here and then I suddenly went back even more, it looks suspicious. But if I'm already leaning forward, and this is, if you ever want to really look into the psychology of misdirection, definitely check out a guy by the name of Slydini. Now he's been dead forever, but his thinking and his books and videos are amazing. Slydini, S-L-Y-D-I-N-I. But I'm here, perfectly preparing me for a relaxed position here. And at this position, I can let the can fall out of the newspaper by releasing my grip a little bit, falls out of the newspaper and falls directly down into my lap. I don't want it to fall on the table. There we go. Falls down, and then I can move it forward. And nobody would ever think for a second that the can is not still there, but it's actually already in my lap. Then I readjust. And you got to be careful because you don't want it suddenly popping up. Then I do this and I say, actually, instead of smashing this can, and now you're good. And you don't want to be near the edge of the table. You want to be a good foot and a half. You can even slide it, okay? I mean, you could grab the can from underneath and do one of these and try to get the sound. Don't bother. Get a life, seriously. So you slide it here, show your hand empty, and as you go under the table, all I do is either from between my knees or beside my hip, is grab the crunched can here, and you are in an amazing situation. They think there's a full can of Coke, well, not with the liquid, but a full uncrunched can just under the newspaper, and your other hand's underneath, when in fact the can's not even there. Then if you're gonna, and this is so great, because I've worked a gig where I'm a little anxious for most of it, and I'm looking forward to doing this trick so I can slap the hell out of it and express some of my anger. So you go 1, 2, boom. It's a crazy moment. That moment hits people so hard, and then you bring the hand up, showing you crunch the can after all. And I love the fact that this added, because usually you put the salt shaker through the table, then you bring the salt shaker up and the trick's done. But the fact that this item is also transformed in the journey. It's a collection of my poetry called Transformed in the Journey. The fact that this is transformed through the journey, I think adds a whole other level of, first, misdirection from what exactly, the method of what you did, but also makes for beautiful visual and for great theater. So often when people are taking a drink like this, people assume the contents are going from the can into the person's mouth. But I wonder if you tweak the gravity a bit, whether it would suck up all your life force into the can.